Nerd Reactor, roll out.
What's up, Reactorites? John here, and yes, it's time for Spider-Man: Far From Home. How's this movie? How does it stack up to was it Spider-Man: Homecoming? Especially this movie came out after Endgame because this is supposed to be the end of the Phase 3. And I just have to say right now, I had a blast. It's a fun movie. This is more of a comedy, like a superhero comedy, kind of similar to like how Thor Ragnarok was a comedy. And I enjoyed it. I had a blast. And Mysterio, Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, he is great. And I like the way they did the story, especially with how they changed up his origin. And when you're watching this, if you're like a fan from the comics, you'll be like, oh yes, I like that. That's just his powers, just straight out of like the comics. So you know what I'm talking about when you watch it. So yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal as Quentin Beck. Yeah, he's like the hero in this movie, especially when Peter Parker's also there, and he's also trying to be a hero. So there is some kind of competition between the two, but overall, they're trying to help each other out. And Peter Parker, Tom Holland as Peter Parker, he's great as always. He's always solid as this character. And yeah, just Tom Holland. He's just a super likable guy, and you always want to root for him as Peter Parker, and especially on his trip now. He's doing a Euro trip with his class, and the movie does explain the whole thing after the events of Endgame. So spoiler alert, the people come back. The people come back from the snap. And so with this, they actually talk about it, and it's done like they explain everything in like the first few minutes, and then after that, the movie just continues on and just proceeds on without even ever acknowledging that ever again. There's like some hints here and there, especially when they talk about Tony Stark, but yeah, it's not like the main thing, because the main thing here is you got Mysterio, you have Spider-Man, Europe, these giant monsters. You got Hydro Man, you got Molten Man, and that's pretty much like the core story. Anything else I don't want to talk about. But then you also have the return of Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. You have Maria Hill, so they're back, and they're helping out. They're trying to get Peter back into the game of just saving the day, especially after the events of Endgame. And Peter is going to have some tough times, especially with, he has a big role to fill now that everyone else is busy. And Peter Parker's the only one there to help save the day along with Mysterio. And so it's like a lot of weight on his shoulder. And you get to see how Peter Parker handles that, especially now that he has to deal with, hanging out with his friends, hanging out with MJ. Peter Parker, he has a thing for MJ, so he's trying to make things happen, trying to make things romantic, especially when they're in Europe. It's romantic and all that, and I think it's sweet, like their relationship between, Zendaya as MJ with Tom Holland as Peter Parker. It's awkward, it's cute. Are they gonna like each other or are they not? And I'm rooting for Peter Parker, and I'm rooting for MJ to like, come on, guys, quit being so awkward around each other. And you got Ned. Ned's, he's funny, and there's a lot of like supporting characters. They all have like their moment to shine, especially with Happy Hogan, and then you got Aunt May, and it's like, is there a thing going on between them two? Yeah, this movie is just a joy to watch, and I had a blast from beginning to end. And yes, there are some gripes that I have, especially when you're trying to compare this with the previous Spider-Man films, and a part of me does miss a Spider-Man movie taking place in New York City, and a part of me does miss like the whole neighborhood Spider-Man. But I feel like with these MCU movies, they got to go bigger now, and I do miss that, especially with the bad guys where there's tension, and I think that's what's missing in these films, like the tension. I don't feel the tension anymore between anything with like Peter Parker or his relationship with like anyone he knows, because in the movies like Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man or a second, there's like tension between like him and Green Goblin, or Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn, with Doc Ock. Like, what's gonna happen? It's like, no. Or with Mary Jane, like, oh no, like they're fighting. What's gonna happen? Like, you actually feel like oh, this is good. This is good drama. But here in this movie, there's none of that. So I do hope like there's something maybe in future Spider-Man movies, maybe someone else to direct like the third Spider-Man film instead of John Watts. I still enjoy John Watts' take on the Spider-Man stuff, but I want someone that's able to balance more of the drama mixed in with the comedy. And I think the Russo brothers are a really great fit for these Marvel films because they're able to like just give you all kinds of emotions, whether you're tearing up, you're sad, you're happy, and all that. With Spider-Man, especially with the aftermath of Endgame, I didn't really feel like they kind of like joked around about the whole event, so it kind of takes the pressure away from the heavy stuff from Endgame, and so now you just have like this almost straight up comedy, and I think that's what John Watts is trying to do. Like he's not trying to make it too sad, but there are moments here and there where Tom Holland, Peter Parker talking to Happy Hogan about Tony Stark and how it's kind of hard. But I do wish like there was a way for them to do that without it being like a little too much, but still feeling sad. And yeah, so overall, I enjoyed this movie, and I do miss like how the old movies were very drama focused, but also had a balance of some humor. And so that's the takeaway here. It's strictly it's mainly a comedy, and but I still enjoyed it. I had a blast with it. But just come in expecting different Spider-Man experience, and also come expecting like Mysterio. Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. I think he's really great in this one, and just like his origin story, how they explained it, that was beautiful. That was done really well. So I do recommend this. The end credit scenes, wow. I don't want to say anymore. I want you guys to experience this. It's like a crowd pleaser, and probably one of my favorite moments in the movie. And also stay to the very end for the end credit scene because there's more, and that could set up for something else. I'm still not sure how, if they're gonna do that or why they did that for the end credit scene, but it's still interesting. You're like, okay, what's gonna happen? So yeah, when the movie comes out, let me know what your thoughts are. Whether you agree with me or not, I want to know on the comments below. With that said, I'm John, and I'll see you guys next time.